Why do you think they made a colony on the moon?
Well, they made a colony on the moon to help with population problems, as well as getting to helium-3.
Tell me, what is helium-3 and why do we need it?
Helium-3 is a rare isotope not easily found on Earth. We need it because it will help us create a safer, cleaner, efficient nuclear energy.
Cool. Now tell me, you lived on the moon for a while. What's it like? Why don't we start with the climate?
The climate on the moon, we have 2 weeks of intense light that causes boiling heat. When this happens, the plexiglass that makes the dome of our colony tints and blocks out as much light and heat as possible. It still gets pretty hot, but not to boiling point. Then after our 2 weeks of light, we have 2 weeks of darkness, which brings intense freezing cold temperatures. After those 2 weeks of heat, the solar panels we have laid out next to and around the colony walls have collected enough stored power from the light to give us enough power to heat the dome for the 2 weeks of cold. During those times, we also need enough power for lights inside our homes, but with the light that gets in through the tint of the plexiglass during the 2 weeks of light, we don't need to use too many lights. We also need blinds to block out the remaining light when we need to sleep.
Tell me, why do you use plexiglass instead of something else?
Well, plexiglass is stronger than glass or plastic, so it isn't as easily broken. Another reason is that glass, when at an angle with the sun or over it, refracts the light into a small hot ray that can cause fires, as well as extreme heat depending on how hot the light is. If we were to use some sort of plastic, it may melt, and that would cause problems such as the oxygen from our colony escaping, having to wear suits again, killing plants and animals, and maybe even colonists. So with plexiglass, we don't get the problem of the melting. Since we use the energy we get from the solar panels to cool it, there's little to no chance of it getting close to that point. We also don't get the problem of the refracted rays of light that could cause fires.
I see. That's very interesting. Why don't we talk about resources, food, water, etc.?
Up here we use water. We filter out from the soil along with the oxygen and grow our farms with that. We use the water from the frozen water from the craters that are only 5 miles from where the colony sits to drink. We unfreeze it and filter it to make sure there's no particles in it that could be potentially harmful to anyone in the colony. We grow simple things such as wheat, corn, different berries, apples, oranges. We also have livestock such as cattle and poultry like chickens and turkeys. We usually feed them scraps from harvest or old stale food.
Now, how did you get the plants and livestock here?
We had seeds shipped up here when we first came, as well as chicks and young turkeys, plus calves.
I see. Is there anything you want to add?
Yes, there's a few things, like how we obtain and keep oxygen. We don't just grow food, we also grow trees just for recycling the nitrogen and turning it back into oxygen. These trees are kept in groves in 4 different places in the colony, 1 in the very center and 3 others around the edges.
Very interesting. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you having me.